Blood was dripping from my eyebrow as I lay on the school parking lot floor. 3 guys from the soccer team surrounded me, laughing among themselves. The metallic taste in my mouth mixed with pure panic. I knew the worst was yet to come. "Get up, you little faggot," Andre, the team captain, ordered as he held my torn backpack. "Let's see if you can run as fast as you talk. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this." The late afternoon sun cast long shadows on the asphalt. I tried to stand up, but a kick in the ribs knocked me down again. I closed my eyes, bracing for the next blow. It never came. "Enough!" A deep voice cut through the air. When I opened my eyes, I saw Leonardo, the basketball star, the school poster boy with a smile that could melt any girl, standing between me and my attackers. "What's that about, Leo?" "We're just having some fun with Gabrielle." Andre laughed, though there was tension in his voice. Leonardo remained still, his broad shoulders forming a barrier between us. 3 against 1 isn't fun, it's cowardice. Get lost. A heavy silence settled over the group. Andre looked at his friends, then at Leonardo. "You're defending this," Andre began. "I'm defending a friend. Now scram before I forget we played together at the Interschool Olympics." Leonardo's tone left no room for argument. Andre threw my backpack on the ground. "Let's go. Not worth it." The 3 of them walked away, not before Andre shot a look that promised it wasn't over. Leonardo turned and extended his hand. I hesitated for a second before accepting it. His grip was firm, sure. He easily pulled me up, as if I didn't weigh a thing. "Are you okay?" he asked, inspecting the cut over my eye. "I think so." My voice trembled. "Thanks, but why?" Leonardo glanced around to make sure we were alone. He picked up my torn backpack and helped me gather the scattered books. His smell, a mix of aftershave and something uniquely him, filled my space. "Because I know how it feels." His voice dropped to a whisper as he leaned closer. "Don't tell anyone, but I like guys too." My heart stopped. Leonardo Silva, the most popular guy at Campos Verdes State School, the teen idol with the perfect girlfriend, had just shared his deepest secret with me. "You," I stammered, unable to form a full sentence. Not a word about this. His gaze was intense, a mix of vulnerability and determination. "I have a sports scholarship on the line, and my parents would disown me in a heartbeat if they found out." I nodded, still dazed. "Your secret's safe with me." Leonardo visibly relaxed. "Come on, I'll give you a ride home. That cut needs some ice." In his car, a used Fiesta that he kept spotless, the silence was strange but not uncomfortable. Occasionally, our eyes met and something unspoken passed between us. "So, how do you do it?" I finally asked. "Living this double life?" Leonardo gripped the wheel until his knuckles went white. "Day after day, pretending to be who they want me to be. Sometimes I forget who I really am." He turned onto my street. "And you? How do you deal with being so open about it?" "It's not by choice. I was outed last year when someone hacked my phone and spread my messages." I adjusted the makeshift bandage Leonardo had prepared from the car's first aid kit. "Since then, it's been complicated." Leonardo parked in front of my house. "I admire your courage." "It's not courage when you have no choice." I managed a weak smile. Before getting out of the car, I felt his fingers lightly touch my wrist. "Gabriel, can we talk more? Maybe swap numbers?" In that moment, something shifted. It wasn't just about sharing a secret. It was about 2 worlds colliding. The guy everyone wanted to be had just asked for the number of the guy everyone avoided. A week went by, and our casual hallway encounters at school began to carry a secret meaning. A nod, a half smile, codes that only we understood. It was Leonardo who suggested meeting outside of school in a cafe in the neighboring town where no one would recognize us. I picked a table in the back, nervous, constantly checking the door. When he came in, simple jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and his cap pulled down. It was like looking at a different Leonardo. Not the school idol, but just an 18-year-old trying to find his place in the world. "Sorry I'm late," he said as he slid into the chair across from me. I ended up making up an extra practice for my mom. No problem, I ordered a coffee for you. I nudged the cup toward him. How did you know I like caramel? He grinned, that smile usually reserved for the school newspaper cameras. I've been watching you longer than I'd like to admit. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Leonardo didn't look away as I expected. I was watching you too, from afar, envying your freedom, even when it left you with bruises. That afternoon, between coffee and confessions, I saw the cracks in the armor he'd built. He told me about his first kiss with another guy during a summer camp when he was 15, and how he later cried alone in his tent, terrified by his own feelings. He talked about the coach who once made a homophobic remark, and how he had laughed along, hating every minute of it, hating himself even more. The worst part is that it works, he said, twirling the empty cup between his fingers. Everyone believes in the character, sometimes even I do. I shared with him my own journey, the years of self-discovery, the terror of my messages being leaked, the abandonment by so-called friends. I also talked about the freedom that came afterward, like taking a deep breath after being underwater for too long. When we left the cafe, we walked aimlessly. Our hands brushed occasionally, a casual touch neither of us immediately corrected. The sun began to set as we arrived at a small, empty park. Gabriel, Leonardo said my name as if testing its weight on his tongue. Can I show you something? I followed him to a secluded lookout that overlooked the entire town. The first lights began to dot the landscape below. Leonardo pulled out his phone and showed me a hidden folder in an app disguised as a calculator. They were his drawings, dozens of them, men in artistic poses, some abstract, others realistic, all beautiful. I've never shown these to anyone, he confessed, his voice almost lost in the wind. My dad says art is for wimps. Ironic, huh? I looked at the drawings, then at him. They're amazing, Leo. I always wanted to study visual arts in college, he said, putting his phone away. But instead, I'm going for business, like my dad wants. You don't have to follow that path. At least not right now. I have no choice. Our eyes met and held on. The tension between us was palpable, electric. He stepped forward hesitantly, his eyes alternating between mine and my lips. I barely moved, hardly breathing. I'm tired of pretending, Leonardo whispered. When his lips met mine, the world around us seemed to slow down. The kiss started softly, almost shy, so different from the confidence he showed on the court. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer. I reciprocated, sliding my fingers into the nape of his neck, feeling the texture of his short hair. The kiss deepened, years of repression transforming into urgency. It could have lasted seconds or hours. I completely lost track of time. When we finally pulled apart, we were both panting. His brown eyes glistened. That was... Leonardo began, then stopped, unable to find the words. I know, I replied, just as out of breath. For weeks, we built our own little world. Meetings in nearby towns, coded messages, stolen moments in the dark corners of the library. At school, we kept our distance, but every now and then our eyes met in the crowded hallways, a moment of truth amidst so many lies. On a rainy Thursday, Leonardo canceled our planned meeting. The semifinals were approaching, and the coach demanded extra practice. The next day at school, he seemed distant, even avoiding our subtle glances. When I tried to text him, I got short, almost cold responses. Then on Saturday, I understood why. A classmate shared a post on Instagram. Leonardo at the post-game party, kissing Vanessa, his supposed girlfriend, while the team celebrated qualifying for the finals. The caption read, "The perfect couple celebrating the perfect win." The likes went over 1,000. My stomach sank. I knew it was part of the facade, but it still hurt like a physical punch seeing that image. I spent the whole weekend without hearing from him, caught between worry and anger. On Monday, I saw him in the corridors, surrounded by teammates, laughing as if nothing had happened between us. Finally, when we managed a moment alone in the parking lot after the last class, his first words were, "Sorry." "Sorry for what exactly?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended. For ignoring me or for displaying your perfect fake life on social media? Gabriel, you knew my situation from the start. His voice was low, tense. The college scout was at that party. My future depends on this scholarship. And your future includes kissing Vanessa while you ignore my messages? Leonardo ran a hand over his face in frustration. She knows about me. About us. That caught me off guard. What do you mean? Vanessa and I have an agreement. She has her own secrets too. Our relationship is convenient for both of us. He stepped toward me. What we have is real, Gabriel. The only real thing in my life right now. I wanted to stay angry, but the vulnerability in his eyes disarmed my defenses. I then understood the price he paid every day, the constant performance, the imposed expectations, the fear of losing everything. I don't want to be your dirty little secret forever, Leo, I confessed. You never were. He touched my face, a quick gesture but filled with affection. You're the first person I can truly be myself with. Please don't give up on me yet. How could I? In just a few weeks, Leonardo had become my confidant, my safe haven, my first real intimate experience. He was the one who suggested we go to his uncle's cabin in the mountains, a place empty at this time of year, just the two of us. No pretense, no judging looks. A whole weekend. The idea of being alone with him, away from everything, made my heart race. I told my parents I was going on an environmental school trip. Leonardo told his family he was going for an intense practice with the team. The little lies stacked up, but the promise of what was to come made it all bearable. The cabin was rustic, yet cozy, nestled among century-old pine trees with a view of a calm lake. There was one big living room with a stone fireplace, a compact kitchen, and a bedroom at the back. We arrived on Friday night, the starry sky above us like nothing we'd ever seen in town. Leonardo lit the fireplace while I prepared something for us to eat. The domesticity of the scene, both of us moving together in that shared space, felt so natural that it hurt to think it was only temporary. After dinner, we sat side by side on the worn-out couch in front of the fire, sharing a bottle of wine that Leonardo had brought along. Are you nervous? He asked, pouring 2 glasses. A little, I admitted. How about you? Terrified. He laughed, but it was true. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand trembled slightly as he handed me the glass. We toasted to nothing in particular, just to the moment. The wine warmed my throat, but it was his gaze that warmed everything else. We talked for hours, the fire slowly turning into embers. We spoke about the future, his fears about college, my hopes of studying literature, the dreams we both kept hidden. At some point, our conversation gave way to silence, and then to hesitant touches. Leonardo played our shared playlist, songs we had secretly swapped for weeks. In the intimate space of the cabin, with only the soft glow of embers lighting the room, his body found mine. His kisses were different from that first one at the lookout. More confident, more knowing. His hands roamed over my body as if he were memorizing every curve. I guided him to the bedroom, our steps slow and deliberate, savoring every moment. Are you sure? He asked, his voice husky as we fell together onto the bed. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I replied. What followed was a gentle dance of discovery. Our clothes fell to the floor, piece by piece. The athletic body I had only seen on the school courts was now exposed only to me. Every muscle, every curve, every inch of tanned skin was now at the mercy of my fingers and lips. Leonardo touched me as if I were something precious, both fragile and strong at the same time. In his eyes I saw desire, yes, but something deeper too. Recognition, as if he had finally found someone who saw him completely. Our bodies met like waves on a shore, inevitable, natural, perfect. Every sensation was amplified, every moan a confession, every touch a promise. Time lost meaning as we explored this new territory together, guiding each other through unknown pleasures. In his embrace, I found not just desire, but belonging. When our bodies finally merged completely, it was as if something in the universe clicked, a piece falling perfectly into place. Then, lying side by side, sweaty and breathless, the silence between us felt comfortable, intimate. Leonardo traced invisible patterns on my skin with his fingertips, a serene smile on his lips that I had never seen before. "What are we doing, Gabriel?" he whispered, not out of worry but genuine curiosity. "Living," I replied simply. "Maybe for the first time." He kissed my forehead, a surprisingly tender gesture coming from the guy who, just weeks ago, was merely an untouchable idol. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "For what?" "For saving me too." Leonardo rested his elbow and looked deeply into my eyes. "You think you saved me from those guys in the parking lot, but the truth is, you saved me from myself, from a lifetime of lies." We fell asleep in each other's arms, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I had no nightmares. I didn't dream about hostile school hallways or attackers lurking in dark corners. I dreamed of possibilities, of futures that once seemed impossible. The next morning, I watched Leonardo sleep beside me, vulnerable and at peace. In that moment, I knew something fundamental had changed inside us. The guy who once whispered, "Don't tell anyone I like boys," was now breathing freely, his body intertwined with mine without shame or fear. We didn't know what the future would hold once we returned to school on Monday. We didn't have answers for the complications ahead, but there, in that quiet morning at the cabin, with the sun filtering through the curtains to create golden patterns on our skin, we had something far more valuable: truth. "And now?" I asked as we packed our backpacks, erasing the traces of our presence from that temporary hideaway. Leonardo closed the trunk of his car, his face a mask of conflict. "I have the final game on Friday. The scout from the state university is going to be there. My dad is already celebrating the scholarship as if it were a done deal." And then? He leaned against the car, eyes fixed on the mountains we'd soon leave behind. "I'll have to make a choice, right? I can't live like this forever." On the way back, we talked about possibilities. Maybe at college, far from the small town we grew up in, Leonardo could live more openly. Maybe we could find a way to be together, even if it meant a long-distance relationship. "Or maybe I should just give up everything," he said in a moment of frustration. "No." I placed my hand over his on the gear stick. "You worked hard for this opportunity. We just need to find a middle ground." When he parked just a block away from my house, it was already night. We sat in the dark, reluctant to end our weekend. "See you tomorrow at school," I finally said, leaning in for one last kiss. Leonardo cupped my face in his hands. "Gabriel, be patient with me, okay? I need to do this my way." I nodded, trying to ignore the tightness in my chest. "Just don't shut me out again." Never again. The following week was an exercise in patience. At school, Leonardo maintained his facade, the popular athlete, the perfect boyfriend, the model son. But now I noticed the little cracks in his performance, the tired look in his eyes, the way his smile never quite reached his gaze when he was with his so-called friends. We met briefly in the library, exchanging quick words between the shelves. Sometimes he would cross my path on the way home, offering me a ride when no one was looking. And at night, his messages were my comfort, confessions typed in the dark of his room when everyone assumed he was asleep. On Thursday, the day before the big game, I received an unexpected message. "Meet me in the locker room at 7. I need to see you." The school was practically empty at that hour. The team had finished practice early to rest before the finals. I entered the quiet gym, my footsteps echoing on the polished wood floor. The men's locker room was at the back, a heavy metal door creaking open as I pushed it. "Leo?" I called softly. He appeared from behind the lockers, his hair still damp from the shower, wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. His face held an intensity that alarmed me. "What's going on?" I asked. Leonardo pulled me into a tight hug, burying his face in my neck. I felt his body trembling slightly. "My dad found my drawings," he murmured against my skin. He rummaged through my room looking for schoolwork and found the notebook I hid under the mattress. My blood ran cold. What happened? Leonardo stepped back, running a hand over his face. Only then did I notice a bruise beginning to form near his temple. "Oh my God, Leo." I gently touched the injury. "It's nothing compared to what he said." He called me an abomination, a disgrace. He said none of his children would be. His voice faltered. He threatened to kick me out if he ever found out that these tendencies continued. You told him about you? No. He didn't get that from me. Leonardo squeezed my hands. But he gave me an ultimatum. If I win the game tomorrow and secure the scholarship, he'll forget about it. Otherwise, this is absurd. He can't tie his love for you to a basketball game. Welcome to the Silva family. His smile was bitter. Where love is conditional and based on performance, as far as I'm concerned. We stood there, under the fluorescent lights of the empty locker room, the reality of our situation clearer than ever. The world we'd built at the cabin now seemed like a naive fairy tale. I'm playing tomorrow, he finally said. I'm going to win that damn scholarship. And then... Leonardo looked directly into my eyes, a newfound determination shining there. Then, I don't know exactly what will happen, but I know I don't want to live like this anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, thinking of Leonardo at home, living under the same roof as someone capable of hurting him just for being who he is. I thought about calling the police, about reporting the abuse, but I knew that would only make things worse for him in this critical moment. The gym was packed the following night. It felt as if the whole town had come out for the state championship. I sat in the bleachers, apart from the crowd, watching Leonardo warm up. Even with the bruise hidden under makeup, probably applied by Vanessa, who shot worried glances his way, he moved with the same graceful athleticism as always. His dad sat in the front row, next to the coach and the college scout, a man in a suit taking notes on his clipboard. The pressure was palpable. The game started heated. Leonardo played like never before, as if channeling all his pain and frustration into every shot, every defense. During the break between the third and fourth quarters, the score was tied. That's when I noticed something odd. Leonardo kept glancing toward the bleachers, not at his dad, but at one particular spot on the other side. I followed his gaze and saw a middle-aged man I didn't recognize, watching the game intently. There was something familiar in his face. The final minutes took my breath away. With only seconds on the clock and the team down by 1, the ball landed in Leonardo's hands. The entire gym fell silent as he positioned himself for a three-point shot that could clinch the win. Time seemed to stand still. I saw his eyes dart quickly across the bleachers, his dad, the scout, the mysterious man, and finally meeting mine for a fraction of a second. The ball left his hands in a perfect arc. When it swished through the net, the buzzer sounded and the gym erupted in celebration. His teammates hoisted him onto their shoulders, chanting his name. His dad clapped vigorously, already shaking the scout's hand. Amid the chaos of celebration, I lost sight of Leonardo. I tried sending him a congratulatory message but got no reply. People began to leave the gym, still buzzing about that game-winning shot. I stayed behind, uncertain about what to do next. That's when I saw him again. Not on the court with the team, but leaving through a side door, accompanied by the mysterious man from the bleachers. Without a second thought, I followed them. I caught up with them in the parking lot, where they were talking intently beside a car I didn't recognize. I cautiously approached until Leonardo saw me and motioned for me to join them. "Gabriel," he said, his expression unreadable. "This is my Uncle Miguel, the owner of the cabin." The man extended his hand. I now saw the resemblance, the same eyes as Leonardo's, but older, wiser. "So you're Gabriel," said Miguel with a warm smile. "Leo told me all about you." I looked at Leonardo in confusion, and he took a deep breath before explaining. "My Uncle Miguel is the black sheep of the Silva family," he said with a half-smile. "He's also gay. He was kicked out of the house at 19 by my grandfather." Miguel nodded. "A family story they never mention at gatherings. The thing is, I noticed the signs in Leo years ago, the same I recognized in myself. When he asked me for the key to the cabin last weekend, I had a frank talk with him." "Miguel was the first person in the family I ever told," Leonardo continued. "He offered me an alternative." "An alternative?" Leonardo took a deep breath. "I won the game. The scholarship is mine, but I'm not going to take it." "What do you mean?" I asked, stunned. I'm going to study visual arts at the Federal University, like I've always wanted. Miguel will help me with expenses until I can get on my feet. But what about your dad? He'll probably disown me when he finds out. Leonardo's voice trembled slightly, but his gaze was determined. But I can't live in that house anymore, Gabriel. Not after yesterday. Miguel put his hand on his nephew's shoulder. I have an apartment in the capital. Leo can stay with me while he studies. My mind reeled at this unexpected twist. So that means... It means I'm tired of pretending. Leonardo stepped toward me, taking my hands in his. I don't really know what's next. It's going to be hard, scary, completely unknown. But I know I don't want to keep hiding who I am. There, in the school parking lot, with the gym lights illuminating his face, I saw the real Leonardo emerging from the shadows. Not the perfect athlete, not the obedient son, but a brave young man ready to face the world on his own terms. The capital is only about 2 hours away, he continued, a nervous smile playing on his lips. And there are buses on the weekends. Are you inviting me to a long-distance relationship? I asked, barely able to believe what I was hearing. I'm inviting you to be a part of my real life, if you want to. In that moment, all the doubts and fears about our uncertain future felt less important. The guy who once saved me from bullies in the parking lot was now standing before me, offering not just his heart, but his truth. Yes, I replied, feeling like I was finally breathing fully for the first time. I want to be a part of this, of all of it. When his lips met mine there, under the stars and within view of anyone passing by, I realized that sometimes you have to lose everything to finally find who you really are. Leonardo had saved me that day in the parking lot, but somehow, we saved each other, from the lies, the fear, and the loneliness of living in the shadows. Our story was just beginning, with all the challenges and uncertainties the future held. But one thing was for sure. We wouldn't whisper our secrets in the dark anymore. From that moment on, we would live our truth out loud, together. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this. That's the thing about saving someone. Sometimes, in the process, you discover you needed saving too. And maybe that's what true love really means. Two people finding the courage in each other to finally be who they truly are.